I actually forgave my mother's killer. And if you'd have told me, Chris, you're going to forgive your mother's killer for taking her life because she's black, I would have said there's no way in a million years. When I was playing baseball, I even signed my signature. I got the same signature. I'd say, my name, C, and then, S, and then I put love is greater than hate on all my signatures. Even when I had this like Topps deal from baseball cards, every signature, love is greater than hate.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. Today I'm sitting here with Chris Singleton. Great to have you here, man.
Thank you, man.
Dude, so this is the first time we've ever met in person. We've connected on social media and seen each other on social media. We have a lot of mutual friends here in Charleston. Yeah. Caleb Pearson, Dan Rivers, several other folks who have had you speak or have seen you speak. And dude, they always send me a message afterwards like, dude, you got to connect with Chris, man. He's got a powerful message. He's got a lot of really good stuff going on and is really making a great impact. And so it's awesome to finally sit down and connect in person.
Absolutely, man. Grateful to be here. And this is my home. So Charleston's where I'm from.
Yeah.
It's where I'll be. We talked about me moving around a little bit, but I always have a house here because the city wrapped his arms around me when I went through some real tough stuff. So this is this city means a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, you've got a profound story, really tough story, right? And at the same time came out and found the light in a lot of darkness and stuff. So I'd love to just kind of let's take a step back. Maybe you can share a little bit about your upbringing. I know you played some ball locally here too, and then the tragedy that occurred a few years back.
Yeah, so I grew up with mom and dad, right? I was pretty fortunate growing up that they were together. They separated. My dad struggled with drinking a lot, and so that was kind of like his vice he really struggled with. But I was blessed in the fact that both of my parents were super athletic. My mom ran track in high school and college. My father ran a 4.3 40-yard dash, right? So he's super, super fast. He could dunk till he was 40.
Wow.
So like coming up, like sports was everything. Played baseball, basketball, football. And then by the time I was in like third grade, I started playing like travel baseball. You familiar with like all the travel sports, the crazy world of that right now?
I wasn't good enough to play when we were younger, man.
Okay.
But now it seems like it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like nowadays, you don't have to be good to play travel ball. Like everybody, as long as you can pay, you can play. That's how it is now, right? Mm-hmm. But I played travel sports growing up, and then in sixth grade, I moved to Charleston. And when we moved here, my dad's from here, and so we basically moved back. My parents got remarried after he was sober for a couple years. And so things were great. I was playing sports, but I stopped playing football. I just played baseball and basketball. And seventh grade, I realized I was pretty good at baseball because I was playing junior varsity for a high school.
Wow.
And I'm 12 years old, playing against 14, 15-year-olds, sometimes 16,
yeah,
holding my own. And then in eighth grade, I hit my growth spurt finally. Mm-hmm. I grew 6 inches, could finally hit the ball out of the infield. Still weighed 100 and nothing pounds, but I grew a little bit. Started hitting a couple home runs, and I realized in eighth grade I could play in college, right? Because I was starting on varsity as a 13-year-old for our high school, and it was in the biggest classification in our state, and so I realized I was good. And at this time, I made the promise that most athletes make that you're gonna take care of your mom one day, right? And so I told my mom, hey, I know you're a teacher, I know you're doing your thing, but I'm gonna buy you a house one day, I'm gonna buy you a car one day, I'm gonna take care of you. And high school, got recruited, played basketball, baseball, played college. My freshman year, I'm starting at Charleston Southern, a local school here. And that's when my life changed, man, because I lost my hero. My mom was killed. It'll be 10 years this year, which is crazy to think about it. But 10 years ago, at my church downtown, is when a guy walked in with a mission of spreading a racial war in our country. That was his mission. So. He walked in, he took 9 lives. One of those lives was my mom. And that's when my life changed forever. Yeah, that's when everything changed.
It's wild, man. I remember, I can't believe it's been that long already. I was in, because I had lived here for about 5 years right after I graduated from college, like 2008 to 2012-ish, and then moved away back to Cleveland, and I remember hearing about it on the news. Obviously, it was national news, and horrible, and It did seem like the community really rose up, though. It did seem like out of all the horrific things that happened, I know I've heard you talk about a lot of people from the community reached out to you. A lot of people from your baseball family reached out to you. Tell me a little bit about, I don't know, dude, when this happens and you're in shock, like, how do you get through something like that, right?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, man, like, right after it happened, I believe there's something that's greater than just me and you and stuff that I can see with my eyes, right? I wholeheartedly believe that God is real. And so the reason why I think that is because my mother was killed by a self-proclaimed white supremacist, right? And there was actually a Bible study when that happened. I actually forgave my mother's killer. And if you'd have told me, Chris, you're going to forgive your mother's killer for taking her life because she's black, I would have said, there's no way in a million years I'm going to punch you in your mouth for saying that I'm going to do that, right? And so when it happened, I knew that it wasn't just me. And to your point, like, our community, there wasn't like riots, there wasn't like, tearing down buildings, there wasn't people like, oh man, going, backing this guy up for doing what he did. Like, everybody said, no, this is disgusting. This is awful. Like, we're gonna, lock arms and help each other out and be there for each other. We walked on the bridge, thousands and thousands of people coming in from all over the world, standing in solidarity with one another, just saying this is disgusting. So when that happened, I'm like, man, I owe so much to the city. They wrapped their arms around me. Prayer blankets. I believe when people are praying for you, half the time they're just saying it, right? Hey, I'm praying for you now, I'm really doing it. But the other half, like, people are really praying for you. Hey, man, I'm praying, God, that Chris has strength through this really rough time. There's people, like my best friends, my college teammates that were there. I wasn't crying in front of cameras. I wasn't crying in front of, people, but they were there like, hey, man, I got you. I know that this is rough. Like, you lost your hero. It wasn't just that you lost, but she was taken away. So, I mean, during that time, man, there were so many people in this community that helped me out. I live, the president of our college at Charleston Southern at the time, Dr. Hunter, phenomenal guy, was president for decades at Charleston Southern. And now he's my neighbor. And I was texting him, messing around, just joking with him about golf. Because I heard he teased up in the fairway and stuff. I was just teasing him, right? And he's like, man, Chris, God's got his hand on your life, and you've been through a lot, man, but I'm just so proud of the man that you've become. And I said, hey, man, when things were really rough for me, you were there. And there were so many people that were there, and you never forget that kind of stuff. You never forget it. So
how did you go from, I mean, I can't imagine the amount of anger that, just kind of consumes you when something like that happens. And how did you get through that? Like, was there, outside of the prayers, outside of talking with friends, what does that look like? Like, how do you overcome it? How did you work on yourself, I guess, in order to then?
Well, I believe, number one, the Bible even says, like, you can't have faith without works, right? So I'm never a person that just believes, oh, I'm just going to pray, I'll be okay. No, that's not the way that the world works, right? The Bible says prayer without works is dead. So I just think that you have to believe enough that it will work. Even in business, you have to have, like, faith that this is going to work. I'm going to work super hard, but, like, it has to work, right? Or it has to work, or it has to work. So for me in that moment, there were a couple of things that really helped me. Number one, I had an outlet. Instead of having a vice of drinking or smoking or doing whatever, my outlet was my sport. My outlet was competing in something. My outlet was playing baseball and having a level of belief that, hey, man, I can play at the next level. And I'm working to make my mother proud in doing this. So that was big. Also, my wife, man, my high school sweetheart. We've been together through all this stuff. To this day, my toxic flaws that I want to give my wife everything because she was there for me in the worst time of my life. And so if she's like, man, this thing looks cool over there, I'm like Googling, how can I pay for that? How can I buy that? That. Because she's done so much for me and been there. So she was huge in that. And then having a level of belief that what I go through right now is the worst of the worst. Whether it's somebody's divorce, whether it's somebody's health problems, whether it's losing a family member, losing a kid. Like, when I started thinking, okay, this is the worst of the worst that can happen to me. This is it. This is rock bottom. Things aren't going to stay here forever, right? Having that level of belief gave me hope for the future, because when you're going through something tough like that, And all you really cling to is hope that things will be okay one day. And they definitely have been, and things have gotten better. But initially, man, I was Googling stuff, like how do people get through tough things? And I'd see, I call them dumb quotes because some of them was like, it said, sometimes in life you got to play the hand that you're dealt. I'm like, bro, it makes sense if you had a good hand and you're saying that quote.
Yeah,
But when you
exactly.
lost your mom, your dad struggling with drinking, you got to take care of your little brother and sister like I did. I'm like, man, I got a terrible hand. I'm supposed to play this hand. I'm not winning with this, right? And so I see stuff that just aggravated me. And then I would watch like these motivational, inspirational videos that helped me, gave me hope. And one of my life quotes today is from a guy, Charles Swindoll. And I saw this quote the year that my mom was killed. So I'm in a season where like my mom is gone, all these cameras are shoved in my face, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to be a good brother to my brother and sister. And this guy, Charles Swindoll, he said that 10% of our life is action and the other 90% is reaction. And this quote changed things for me because finally I said, none of us choose our 10%. We don't choose where we're born. We don't choose how much money our parents do or don't have growing up. We don't choose if we're 6'7", if we're 5'2". We don't choose so much. That's our 10%. The 90% is how we respond to the things that we don't choose. And for the first time, I said, finally, somebody admits that some people have an easier, tougher 10%. But the outlook of we all have 90% to work with, man, that changed my life because I said, okay, the terrible things are these 10, but I can still do something great with my 90. And like, it's trivial, it's stupid, but when things would happen to me, I'd say, you know what, that's my 10%. Oh man, we lost our home, that's our 10%.
It's a great perspective.
Like, and I thought about everything that way, and I still do today. Whenever things I don't control, interest rates or whatever, like that's our 10%. Yep. We don't choose it, we don't control it. Hey, we don't choose, so how are we gonna respond, how are we gonna react? And living my life that way has definitely changed the trajectory of my life.
I agree, man. I think that's a powerful, powerful perspective. And I think when you realize that stuff happens to all of us, and obviously there's some things and different timings in your life where things are especially bad or not as bad, but still uncomfortable. It's not about what happens to us. It's about how we respond to what happens to us. It's not about, the way that the wind blows or who the president is or what the economic circumstances are. It's like that affects everybody. That wind's blowing on all of us. It's like sailboats don't get to where they're going based on the kind of wind that blows. It's the set of the sail, right? Which gives us a little bit more control. It gives us confidence that we can actually impact, what our lives can look like, realizing that we have more control over it than we think. Yes, bad stuff happens, and nobody ever wants to go through that, man. But really, 90%. And at least is how we respond, and we can dictate whether we're going to be faithful or fearful, whether we're going to be a victim or the victor in any given situation. This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by the Legacy Boardroom Mastermind. So our goal is to give as much free information away as humanly possible through all of our social media platforms and try to help people with their businesses, help people with their lives. We also have something for people who want more one-on-one attention, which is Legacy Boardroom. Legacy Boardroom is a board of directors for your business. If you are doing up to about $10 million a year in gross revenue, you're making some money, you got some good things happening, but maybe you can't afford a C-suite of executives, of a chief marketing officer, a chief operating officer, a chief investment officer, a chief human resources officer, and you need access to these fractional C-suite executives. That's what this was built for, at a fraction of the price of what you can find anywhere else in the marketplace. So it's my actual team who have built multiple 7 and 8 and 9-figure businesses and real estate portfolios that is available every single day of the week on these daily boardroom calls. So any questions that you have, you can hop on, ask questions about operations to my COO, ask questions about acquisitions to my CMO, ask questions about raising private money to my chief investment officer, or team building to my chief HR officer. So they're available for you 5 days a week. Any questions that you have, any hurdles that you're facing, anything that you need, these guys are available to help you break through any sort of barriers and take your business to the next level so that way you can build a business that is designed to feed your life and your lifestyle. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, check out legacyboardroom.com. A lot of things have transpired since then, right? A lot of things have happened. Obviously, they're sticking cameras in your face. You're speaking a message of love and unity and being a ray of light and hope in a very dark circumstance. That had then transpired into different opportunities for you to go and speak on a lot of stages. How has that been over the past 10 years?
Yeah, man. What first happened was, right after my mother was killed, I forgave my mother's killer, and ESPN, they came down. They said, hey, Chris, we want to film this documentary about you coming back to play baseball, and we want to put you on TV for that. And I was like, I just want to focus on my sport. I don't want to do it. And my coach at the time, I'm grateful he said this. He said, Chris, this is the way that your kids will be able to see your mother. And they'll highlight this in an amazing production. Like, I think you should do it. And I said, you know what? I'll do it. So we filmed this ESPN documentary called E60.
Great vision by your coach.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So it's called Love is Stronger. And they shot this, and right after that, I was on the Today Show. I was throwing out the first pitch for the Yankees. This huge media run, met Steph Curry, Viola Davis, Mariska Hargitay from Law & Order, like all these different things were happening. And I started to get a little bit more following, for lack of better words, and people were saying, hey, Chris, I know you're chasing your dream playing baseball, but we got this award for you. Would you come down here and give a 5-minute speech and accept this award? And I'm in college, man. I'm trying to get drafted. So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm just focused on my sport. And then finally one day, there was an organization down in Florida. Richard Lapchick is the guy's name. And he said, hey, man, there's going to be a lot of very important people here, like, moms of people that play sports just like your mom did with you. And I think you should accept this award. So I went down there. I accepted the award. I gave a speech. I was so nervous, man. You know how you get when you first start speaking, you're like nervous. You're like, man, your heart's beating. You're like, you forget that you're supposed to, talk on the way out. You're talking like this. Oh, wait, so I was so nervous, but the lights were so bright, and I couldn't see anybody, and it was perfect. I was like looking. I'm like, man, the lights are so bright. I couldn't see anybody. It was perfect. All my nerves just were gone, and I gave a speech, and the lady was like, afterwards, she's like, Chris, I know you're playing baseball. They say you're pretty good. They say you're trying to get drafted and stuff, but you got to keep doing what you did today. And so I said, all right, I'll do that. I changed my social media to inspirational speaker. I started accepting little gigs. Hey, can you speak at my kids' soccer team? Yeah, I'll come out there and share how I got through some tough stuff, right? Can you come speak to my school, my youth group, at my church? Yeah, I'll do it. I didn't know it was like a career, but I was doing this as I was playing baseball. I get drafted by the Cubs. Right? The Cubs drafted me. I'm like, man, this is amazing. I'm going to chase my dream, but I'm still going to speak in the off season. And so I was still doing that, right? I'm getting, 10, 15, 20 gigs in the off season and just sharing my heart. One thing about me, I'm not the smartest. I don't have 25 degrees. I don't have 50 million followers, but I share my heart. And when you're genuine and you share your heart, people see that it's true and you really care.
For sure.
And you got to be a good speaker, right? And so I do that. I started getting gigs even more. I'm playing baseball. I still got gigs. I was even running a pool cleaning business at the time, just hustling,
That's awesome.
I'm doing everything, and, things grew. And so it went from me, not knowing what to charge and, saying, hey, I'll do anything for $100, $1,000. And now, I usually make anywhere from, $600,000-$700,000 up to over $1 million a year speaking. So didn't know it was a career like that.
It's amazing.
But I've been super blessed, and things have been good.
It's amazing, man. So tell me, how did the baseball career play out?
Yeah, so drafted by the Cubs, and I always say this to athletes, especially young people, if you have kids or something, I always think you can definitely do it because there's somebody on your kid's Little League team or in your city that's going to be the professional athlete.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. In all these cities, there's going to be one. And it could be your kid if they're really, really good. But what if they only do it for 3 years like me, So I got drafted by the Cubs. They hey, Chris, we're going to draft you. At the time I was draft me, sign me. What does that mean? That means whatever you guys draft me, to, whatever you want to give me, I'll take it. Because my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, we're pregnant in college. So I'm yo, I don't know how much hospital bills cost, but I Googled it was $20 grand. I'm hopefully they give me 20 grand, So I didn't know what they were going to give me. But they were we'll give you $100,000 is our signing bonus to sign you on to playing our organization. Hopefully you get to the big leagues. When you get to the big leagues, you make $750,000. It's like league minimum, right? So I'm like, okay, 100,000. That's more than I thought. I just needed 20 for the hospital bills, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll sign. So I signed with the Cubs. I didn't know Uncle Sam was going to take, 35 grand of that 100 grand. I didn't know that. But I took that 65.
Part of 10%, man.
Oh,
Part
man.
of 10%.
Come on now. I took the money and I took my mother's life insurance, actually. And I bought us our first house. So I bought us our first home. And I'll talk a little bit about how important that was a little bit later today. I'd love to. But I was playing. I'm playing, 7, 8 months out of the year. My brother and my sister are home with my wife and my son. That's why I got to give my wife everything. She did everything for me, right? So they're home, chasing my dream, man. I'm living in the Midwest.
Yep.
I'm living in South Bend, Indiana.
Yep.
I'm playing for the South Bend Cubs. I'm living in the Northwest. I'm living in Eugene, Oregon, where I'm chasing my dream up there. So, I'm traveling all around the Northwest, Midwest. We got spring training in Arizona. And I'm chasing my dream, man. But it is tough. You play baseball and you're good. Anybody that plays sports and they're good, you think you're the man.
Yeah.
In high school, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be like a 10-year career in the MLB. I'm like, yo, I got it, right? Yeah. I get to college, you're like, oh, these guys are good, but I'm playing at a mid-major D1 like Charleston Southern.
Yeah.
So I'm so, for lack of better words, arrogant. I get there as a freshman. I'm like, man, bump South Carolina, bump Clemson. Y'all didn't offer me. I'm better than all these center fielders that are there. Like I am really good. Mm-hmm. When I started playing professionally, this is the first time I'm like, I don't know, man. These guys are unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I'm 20, about to turn 21, playing against guys that are like 18 from Dominican Republic, and I'm like, yo, this guy's better than me. Mm. He's better than me, and like,
pretty humbling, huh?
Oh, it's so humbling, man. You're like, this guy is not only is he the best in his city and his state, like you were. This guy's the best in his country since he was 14. Yeah. Like in South Korea, this guy was like the best in his country when he was 14. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
wild.
Like playing in
they're Olympic level, right? Like
oh
that's what
my
they are.
gosh, these guys are so now when I see people like I'll never let my son, like if a player's going through a slump, I never let him be like, man, daddy sucks, man. Yeah. I'm like, your daddy didn't have a 5-year career, 10-year career like this guy. Like he may be going through it, but this guy's really, really good, son.
Yep.
Like, I know how good these guys are. And yes, they're professional athletes. You got to hold them at a high standard. But I don't ever say, like, man, this guy's hitting 200. I hit 220 in the minors. Mm. So, like, if he's hitting 200 in the majors, like, he's still way better than me,
It's amazing.
So I recognized that when I was playing. And, I could have kept playing after I got released by the Cubs after, 2.5 years. And I could have kept playing the independent ball. Just keep chasing the dream, making no money. But I was already speaking and, making my living that way. And I basically was like, Lord, if this is what I'm supposed to do with speaking, you got to open up the doors. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know a whole lot of people that are professional speakers and that's their job. Mm-hmm. That's like my job, So I'm like, if that's what I'm supposed to do, then let's do it. Let's go full throttle. So that's kind of how the baseball career ended. And I transitioned from just playing and speaking to just speaking.
How is it, obviously the way you talk about baseball, man, your heart was all in it. Like you just wanted, like that was the dream.
Yeah.
How has the desire and kind of your why changed on the level of impact that you're making and seeing that, you got this great purpose in going out and speaking to these crowds and making an impact in people's lives and changing the trajectory of how they move through life. Has that become like a big purpose-driven type of thing for you?
Yeah.
So has that kind of filled the gaps of baseball and or maybe just fulfilled you in a different manner where it's like this is my calling?
Well, I always knew that when I was playing baseball, I even signed my signature. I got the same signature. I'd say my name C and then S and then I put love is greater than hate on all my signatures. Even when I had this like Topps deal from baseball cards, every signature, love is greater than hate. And I did that because I knew that I was more than just a baseball player. The competitive side was always baseball. Now my competitive side, I gotta like play golf or something, to get that competitive juices out. But the purpose was always, I knew that my story of losing my mom and the story of forgiveness and the story of, how do we live in harmony no matter what we look like, where we're from? How do we still get along? Even if we vote different, think different. Like, how do we still live together as a country, as a nation? That was my passion. And so, like, it gave me purpose. I go to schools, man, and I talk about losing my mom and how I overcame that, losing my dad, how I overcame that, and how do we get through really tough things. And I get kids coming up to me afterwards like, man, you don't know this, but like my grandfather's in the hospital right now. Like, Chris, what do I do after he dies? Like, he's gonna die. Like, I need some help. I get kids saying, hey, man, my mom's on drugs. You know, what am I supposed to do? I don't have enough money for my brother and sister. You talked about raising your brother and sister. What can I do? Like, I get those stories, and it made me think, okay, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do in my life. And what's hard is, you know, being very candid, I speak about 100 to 120 times a year. Half of those, or maybe even 70% of those, are in schools, okay? I love speaking in schools. The hardest audience, though, is like middle school. I go into middle school, I'm like, man, you know, I'm like, Lord, am I supposed to be here right now?
Yeah.
Like, man, he's got 1,000 middle schoolers. They're crazy. They're running off the walls. And I'm like,
They're worried about fitting in, man.
Oh, they're worried about fitting in. They're trying to try stuff to be cool. Like, they're laughing at stuff they know they shouldn't laugh at. I'm like, man, do I feel like being here at this middle school, man? Am I supposed to still be doing this? And then I get done speaking, and I get kids coming up to me afterwards like, man, you changed my life today. Like, my dad's an alcoholic too. Like, the fact that you said you're not going to be an alcoholic like your dad, like that, I'm going to do that too, Chris. Like, afterwards, I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this, man. That impact is always
chills,
there,
man.
man. And there's nothing like it. And it gets me excited because, like, I've always thought I could go just the corporate route, charge 20, 25 grand every single time, and, you know, do way less gigs, but make an impact, you know, make money for my family. But there's nothing like for me speaking to a school. When I speak corporately, I still do all that stuff. Like, nothing like speaking to a school and people saying, Chris, the fact that you got through what you went through, and I'm in it right now, gives me hope. There's nothing like that. So that purpose piece that you're talking about, man, that's everything.
There's nothing more noble than giving somebody hope in a dark time, right? Like, if you can do that, I mean, you're doing God's work in that capacity.
Yeah, even in business, you think about, like, whether it's life, whether it's business, people that have gone through, that have gotten success, or maybe gone through some tough stuff in business. Like, when you tell somebody else, hey, this is how I got through it, it gives them hope. And when they're in that season right now, they're like, man, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And you're like, bro, I've been there before. And I know what it feels like. I'm on the other side now, right? Same thing in baseball. I get a guy who's like, you know, hey, Chris, when should I hit the breaking ball? My coach tells me to never hit a breaking ball. And I'm like, dude, if they hang a breaking ball, you better destroy it. You know, I'm like talking about all these things. So once you've gone through something or gotten on the other side of it, and you know what it feels like to be in that season, I think it's not an obligation to tell people how to get through it, but it's an opportunity to give back. And that's the season of life I'm in now.
Dude, I mean, you've got the ability to make an impact, and I think there's a responsibility that comes with it. And for everybody who has the ability to make a difference in other people's lives, there's a responsibility that comes with it, and thankfully there's a huge purpose and a huge, you know, just feeds the soul when you go out and you do this kind of stuff and you see the impact that you're making. It's a big, big deal. I got asked the other day, it was like, you know, because I have this property management software and all this stuff. We're talking real big numbers and all that. And they're like, well, dude, if you exit, like, what's it going to look like? What are you going to do? I was like, I'm gonna put all the business stuff aside, and I'm just going to go out and still, like, coach, and I'm still going to do mentorship and still, like, because that's the stuff that feeds my soul. Like being able to help people see themselves as more by me breathing life into them than they could on their own. Dude, that gets exciting, right? Seeing the eyes light up, seeing what they can do and getting through tough times and knowing that they can do hard things. I think that's a big deal, and checks 9 out of 10 boxes for me on the fulfillment side of things. And so I understand what you're talking about, man, when you're talking about the impact piece and the purpose piece. Let's talk about the real estate side of things. So you do some real estate, you own a couple dozen rentals. Let's start with the first house that you bought. I want to hear that story.
Yeah, the first house that I bought.
The one for your family.
The one for my family. Oh, the reason why that was important is because when my mom was killed, I didn't know anything about finance. I was lucky to be in a house where my mom took care of my car note, my car insurance. You know, I only had to pay for my gas and my dates, right? So I had to have a little Chuck E. Cheese job, right? Everything else she took care of. So I didn't know about like mortgage, didn't know about foreclosures. I'm 18 years old. Like, you know, what's crazy is a lot of 18-year-olds, even people in college, don't know about it because you're either super privileged like I was and my mom's taking care of all that stuff, or you just don't think you need to know. And so our house got foreclosed on, man. And so
After your mom?
After my mother was
Died.
killed.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't pay the mortgage, didn't do what you're supposed to do. House gets foreclosed on. I'm in college at an apartment. I'm like, man, I don't care about it. Like, it's whatever. The guy that bought the house, nice guy, he said, hey, you know, I heard about your story. You've got a washer and dryer. Do you want this washer and dryer? You know, there's any like family art things that you want to keep in here? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take the washer and dryer. And I like looked it up, and I like Googled how much was the house worth. The house was worth like $190,000. This guy bought it for like, I want to say 85 grand. I'm like, how in the world did he do that? I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense. How would you get a house for 80-something thousand if it's worth about almost 200,000? And I started Googling stuff. I'm like, how do people buy houses for nothing, you know? And I think there's an ethical way to do it and there's a not ethical way to do it, right? And so I'm like looking at this stuff, and I started going down the loophole of like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you know, different real estate podcasts, and I like read the books, and I started asking a million people questions in my city. And because I've always been like a personable guy, like I don't act like I know it all because I don't. So if you know something, I'm like, yo, man, how do you save on your taxes? How do you do this? I'm like asking these questions, and this guy, who was one of my coaches, had houses, and another guy who's a realtor down here had like rentals. So I'm asking him questions. He's telling me about this 1% rule. So I'm like, what the heck is a 1% rule? So like learning about that, and I bought my first personal home with my mom's life insurance and my signing bonus. My second home that I bought was a duplex in Goose Creek, and I still have it today. This is 2018, and I bought it for 175 grand. And I'm like, okay, the 1% rule says, you know, 1,000 on this side, 1,000 on that side. So I like put 25 grand into it, and I ended up renting it out for 1,000 on each side. And I'm playing baseball, and this is working. This is like my income that I'm getting on the side, because you know, baseball, minor league baseball, we don't make no money in minor league baseball. And so I'm like, man, this is working. I want to do more of this, but I needed more money. So I started speaking more. We ended up getting a settlement from my mom, and so I got a little bit over $1 million. I just bought an 8-unit with that, and the other like 10 units that we bought was just from me speaking. You know, doing $500,000 to $1 million a year. I'm like, I don't want to blow this money, because it's just me. Like I want to make sure that I don't have mom or dad or grandpa. Like I'm 25 at the time. Like, but it's on me. If crap hits a fan, like something happens to my brother, my sister, I got to figure out how to pay for it.
Yep.
So I started studying finance and doing all the Bigger Pocket podcasts, listening to every single episode. Like started downloading different softwares or whatever you can find on the App Store for free at the time. And I started running numbers and started buying stuff. And we've got we've got a little bit over 20. But I think for me, my mission is to have my net income from real estate to be like 25 grand a month, right? That's like my goal, because that's what I spend a month. So I'm like, if I can make my real estate
residually, without having to go out on any speaking engagements, and know that you got 25 G's a month coming in, covers a lifestyle, make sure savings accounts and retirement accounts and health insurance and all the other stuff is taken care of.
Yeah, that's my number. So like, I read this book called Wealth Can't Wait, which is a great book, and that helped me out trying to figure out what does that look like now. Because I used to be a huge saver, like we're gonna save our way to. I realized
you gotta buy assets, man.
Yeah, you gotta buy assets.
Otherwise, you get swept under the rug.
Oh man, and saving $5 a day on coffee does nothing for you in the long run. If you need to make an extra $250,000 a year, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, at the end, it's like you can only save down to the floor, right? And there's like a base, but like it stops somewhere. Versus how much can you make? If you focus on earning more and increasing your earning potential and buying more assets and increasing your balance sheet, dude, there's no ceiling to it, right? The sky's the limit on that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend energy on anything, it should be on increasing your earning potential versus, just cutting costs, you can only cut so much in costs.
Yeah, and I also do think I want to be a good steward of my money. So like I don't want to have, if I can't afford to have a Lamborghini or 4 Range Rovers or whatever it is, I'm not going to have that. But I'm also not going to cut back on things that are important to me, like going places with my family and spending time in Brazil, like we talked about, since my wife's from Brazil, or like going on a vacation with my wife that fills her cup. So like, if it was up to me, I'd just play golf and I'd be good to go, right?
Yeah.
But traveling with my wife is important. So like all those things, making sure I'm not cutting back on that stuff. Just making sure that it's covered by residuals, like you talked about.
Dude, I've gone through this thing in life where I'll be 40 this year, okay? And dude, when I was in my early 20s, I just wanted all the Range Rovers. I wanted the big houses everywhere. And I went and got those things in my early 30s. Had the Mercedes and the mountain house and bought an island and got a beach house and bought some houses down around Disney World and could go and and then I realized this is just more stuff I need to pay attention to. It's more stuff that I have to maintain and manage and take phone calls on and deal with problems on. It's like, oh my goodness. And then I watched, you ever seen, it's a show on Netflix called The Minimalists.
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
Bro.
I seen the YouTube though. I've seen the YouTube.
Yeah. Really, so good dudes. TK Coleman, who is one of the main 3 guys. I had him come out and speak actually at my event in Chicago a few years ago. And he's like a modern day philosopher. He's like a brilliant guy. He's from South Side of Chicago originally.
Okay.
And I think they all live out in LA now. But dude, watch that. And I think there's a second documentary and there's YouTube and all that kind of stuff too. But it just got me thinking. It's like, dude, if this doesn't provide, they're not anti-stuff. They're anti-stuff that doesn't provide value to your life, right? If it's not going to provide value to your life, don't buy it. Just because that wall doesn't have a piece of artwork on it doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy a piece of artwork on it. If it doesn't bother you, it's not going to provide value to you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if it's a, inspirational quote or something that you want to be able to look at, or a picture of your family, that provides value. You can go put that up there. But don't just fill it up like some people do just because they have empty space on a wall and they feel like we live in America. We should just fill up a bunch of shit on there, right?
Yeah.
And so the minimalist, dude, it got me thinking of like the whole idea of, and one of my early mentors told me this. He said, dude, you buy for investment and you rent for lifestyle. And so, dude, I like going to Europe. I like traveling overseas. My brother lives in Africa right now, South Africa. And I think about all this stuff. And, we just got back from a summit out in Hawaii. And I was like, I want to buy a house in Hawaii. I was like, but then I got to maintain a house in Hawaii. Then I got to pay taxes. Then I have insurance. Then I have to rent it. Then I have to manage it. Then I have to maintain it and get phone calls from property management. It's like, if I'm going to go, how often am I going to go to Hawaii? Maybe, I don't know. If I went there a lot, it would be 1 month a year, right? And it's like, just go rent something and instead take the money that you would have put into buying that and put it into an investment that meets the 1% rule, that provides enough cash flow that covers all the operating expenses, covers the debt service, puts a couple bucks in your pocket, pays down principal, lets it appreciate, and now that's a good investment.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and I was like, well, maybe I want to get I want to get the Land Rover or the Range Rover, and then I was like, my buddy's always in the dealership, right, getting it worked on.
That's me right now.
Yeah, dude. It's
no joke.
Like, it's always in the dealership, and I drive a lot, but I'm kind of reckless in my driving, and that, like, I hit a curb every once in a while. I don't really dodge potholes. I just kind of go through them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would be pissed if I hit a pothole and I had to get a new rim. And it cost me $4,000 for that rim and a new wheel and tire and all this other stuff. And it's like, I just drive a Jeep Wrangler because I can go hit everything and it doesn't mess anything up. And I put regular gas. And so, like, I guess my point is I've come, like, I can afford a lot of these things. And I think a lot of that stuff is really cool when you don't have it. And somebody's like, dude, it's about more than just having the nice cars and having the nice homes and all this stuff. I was like, dude, let me figure that out on my own.
Oh, you
right?
got to figure it out for yourself first. Easy for you to say when you got it all, right?
Yeah. And then I got there. It was like, damn it, that guy was right, And so I'm in this scale back refinement mode of my life right now of doing exactly what you're talking about is going all in on trips and memories and experiences.
Yeah.
I think that is where the real dollars should be spent. I think that gives you so much more perspective on life.
And some people like have their thing. Like I got a friend named Julian who's like a car guy.
Yeah,
like,
and that's cool.
There's some people that are just like, that's their thing. You
Yeah.
know? Some people like, they always dreamt of flying first class or flying private. And they're like, they'll spend 50 grand, you know, to go to LA from Atlanta to go private. Like that's their thing. That's their dream, right? And I don't really have like that thing. I am so jealous of the minimalistic type of lifestyle and mindset because like there is no ego. I feel like there's no ego there. There's no like comparison there.
Exactly.
That's why I like Brazil, you know, down there, because it's like people just want to make enough that they can, you know, buy a beer and eat some steak at night. Like they don't care about anything else. Like they're driving cars from like 1997, but they treat it super nice and clean, and it's just, I like that stuff. And the mindset that I have now is like, man, like I wish that I could give, you know, those people that just like all the tech CEOs that just wear the black shirt. They just have like a million black shirts.
This is the only thing in my wardrobe.
That's the only thing. They're not thinking about nothing else, right?
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of that because I'm like, man, they just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's just easy. And I like that. I'm not there yet. I used to buy a bunch of sneakers and stuff. I kind of slowed down with that. I'm even gonna probably just buy a regular truck because I want to just have a truck. I feel like every man needs to have a truck. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know.
I agree with that though.
You know?
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I've never had a truck, and I was like, I kind of feel like I need one now.
Yeah, just to have a truck, you know? I mean, I guess if you're not putting your hands and stuff, but if my wife's like, hey, can you go to Home Depot and pick this up? I'm like, dang, I gotta put that in back in my car.
Yeah, let me go call my buddy who's a real man who has a truck, right?
Exactly.
Hey, can I borrow your truck?
Yeah, so I like that, man. I like that like, hey, I don't care. There's no clutter. I like that too, man. There's just no clutter in their life. It's just, hey.
Yeah, kids' toys everywhere.
Oh, that's.
I think about it from a standpoint of, what are we teaching our kids? We're teaching them that every time we go to the store, they get something. We're teaching them that stuff really matters instead of time with their siblings and time with their parents, time with their friends, being outdoors. That's what really has been kind of weighing on me recently because, you know, we got kids similar age. Mine are 9, 7, and 2, and yours are what? 7, 3, and 1?
Yeah.
And dude, it's a very impressionable age. It's a very, like, they say 100%, well, it's not 100%, but it's like over 90%. It's almost all of the kids' personality is developed between the ages of 1 to 5 years old, right? So like whatever they're seeing right now at this age is what's imprinting on them for the rest of their life. And they're gonna have to go through a lot of retraining of their brain in order to change any of that stuff when they're older if they're not seeing the right stuff today, you know? And so it brings some awareness to you. It brings some like, oh, that's a slap in the face. Oh man, well, I gotta be more conscious of opening up the door for my wife. I got to be more conscious of saying please and thank you and not cussing and all that stuff, man. And showing up at church and paying attention and being focused and saying the prayers each night and exercising and taking them with me when they're exercising. That's why I was asking you, like, do you ever bring the kiddos with you when you're up on stage, man? Them seeing that is going to imprint on them of like, here's the impact that my dad makes. Here's the kind of person that my dad is. And I think that's really, really powerful, man. I think it's really cool that you're in that position to be able to do that.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it. You know, what I've seen so far, my son's only 7, but like the confidence that you give him, whether it's sports, whether it's school, whatever it is, like instilling that confidence in him, letting him, you know, introduce me when I'm speaking or helping me out when I'm on stage at a school where he can be like the rock star. So that stuff means a lot. You know, I want him to be confident in who he is. And so definitely at this age of 7, I've already seen like if you instill it, hey man, you got it, man, you got it. I'm with you, okay? You nervous? No, take a deep breath. We got it.
Yep.
We'll get through it together, right? All that stuff it'll play out in the long run, I'm sure.
Big time, man, big time. Well, I'll tell you what, your story's inspirational. It's awesome to finally meet in person. I'm here in Charleston, you're here in Charleston. I want to make sure that we stay in touch, stay connected. If I can ever be a support or a resource for you on the real estate side, don't hesitate to reach out. Where can people follow you, connect with you at?
Yeah, so my social media, if you just search up Chris Singleton, you'll see me there. C_Singleton_2 is like my handle. And then if anybody wants to bring me into, their school, their company, whatever it may be, chrissingleton.com is my website for that. So
Perfect. So definitely reach out to Chris, and like literally every time that you speak, somebody who sees you here in Charleston is like, Bratz, you got to get him on a stage. You got to get him to come and speak and have him on your podcast. So, dude, I appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely, man. This is awesome.
All right, thank you. Hey, well, thank you for being here. Hopefully you got a ton of great value out of this episode. We try to give as much free value as possible across all of our social media platforms. So please make sure that you're connected with us. We are at Legacy Wealth on YouTube. We are at Tim Bratz on all other social media platforms. And we're available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. The best way that you can support this podcast is by just subscribing to our YouTube channel, by liking the video, by commenting on it, and by sharing it with anyone else who might get some great value out of it. So thank you again for being here. We'll see you next Sunday on the Legacy Podcast.